These are the metro area courthouses where justice is served. And this is The Common Law with your host, John Deary.
Well, hi everyone, I'm John Deary and welcome to this week's edition of The Common Law. You know, we talk frequently here about injuries, personal injuries, malpractice, things of that nature. And something that is very much at the heart of litigating any kind of cases when a person is injured, and that's what it is, personal injury, is looking at, studying, analyzing, and knowing what is in the medical records. And it is an aspect of lawsuits that is so critical. And so tonight our subject is medical records, life and death of any injury lawsuit. And as we always say, our expert witness, indeed that is the case today, Pat Iyer is a former past president of the American Association of Legal Nurse Consultants and is with the Medical League for Support Services. And Pat, welcome to the Common Law.
Thank you.
Let's start off with the definition exactly. Now, what is that legal nurse consultant description and what does that job involve?
A legal nurse consultant is a person who works with attorneys primarily to help them understand the medical issues of a case. Legal nurse consultants can work on personal injury cases, criminal cases, cases involving toxic torts. Medical malpractice is a big part of our area of interest. In fact, anytime there are medical records and medical issues, a nurse can help attorneys understand what's in those records.
What is your own background?
My background is a hospital nurse and also as an author. I've written a number of books both for nurses and attorneys to help people understand about medical issues.
Is it fair to say, as I tried to at the outset here, of the critical nature of medical records in any kind of a case where injury is involved?
Oh, absolutely. The information in that case, in those medical records, can make or break a case.
Do you find that a family or an individual who may be injured or members of a family, what do you think their general perspective is about the accuracy of medical records as being kept, whether it's in a doctor's office or a medical institution or after surgery, whatever the case may be?
I think there generally is a feeling that the records are accurate. The families usually don't have any reason to question that information. But I do have knowledge that when people realize that something bad has occurred, some poor outcome has resulted, that many individuals are concerned that the healthcare practitioners are going to go in and change the records. And that's a commonly voiced fear.
As a legal nurse consultant, are you able to, with some feeling of confidence, look at medical records and tell rather, I don't say quickly, but rather professionally as to whether they in any sense were altered during the course of treatment?
There are a number of obvious clues, such as looking at changes in numbers or in data. Sometimes they're not obvious, and that comes from knowing what's supposed to be in the record and trying to figure out what's missing from the record. Mm-hmm. Whole pages or whole sections of the chart or entire medical records have been destroyed. And then it becomes a matter of trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out what's missing.
We're going to put the legal eye to work here and bring up some examples and be very interested. Let's start here, and I guess this is to tell us how should a nurse, for example, make a change in the records. Let's take a look at this one.
Yes. What you see here is that the nurse crossed off the passage of writing, wrote the letters ME for mistaken entry, so that the original writing was still clear and readable. Healthcare professionals are not supposed to take heavy black magic marker or white out and completely obliterate an entry. It's supposed to be still readable.
So are you saying that this is done accurately?
This is the correct way to make the change in a record.
Okay. Let me ask, have you ever had situations where doctors or some other medical professional has added to records after they had been charted, presumably by someone else? Do we have some example of that, for instance?
Yes, we do. We have actually here you can see the handwriting in the middle of the page was clearly added in after the note that was written above it and below it because the handwriting spills over into the next entry. What this physician should have done was to find the next available empty line and put the entry in the correct order, instead of trying to squeeze it in the middle of this empty space.
When you see that kind of a situation, what does that generally suggest to you as a professional?
Well, it suggests that the entry was not written in the order in which it appeared in the medical record, and that physician picked up the chart after the fact, and perhaps it was an oversight. The doctor meant to put an entry in and forgot to. Sometimes it's an attempt to put in information that should have been charted to begin with.
Let's take a look at an example here where words may have been somewhat similar to what we were just talking about, added to a chart. What do we see here?
Well, what you see is the circled area says bed sore, which is right here. And this was a woman who was admitted to the hospital from a nursing home, and the physician should have documented that the bed sore, it says bed sore on back. The physician should have documented that when the woman was admitted. When there's concerns about where did a bed sore start, when the patient is admitted to the hospital, the healthcare professional should be clearly documenting the condition of the skin when the resident arrived in the hospital. So this is an after-the-fact entry.
Suggesting again what?
That this particular doctor wanted to make absolutely sure down the road that people realized this woman came into the hospital with a bed sore.
One of the places, obviously, with our older population that there is more medical attention required is in nursing homes.
Yes.
And I know that you've provided us here, coming up on the Legal Eye, with a chart from a nursing home. And what can you tell us about this one?
In this case, the resident was discharged from one nursing home on September 9th and admitted to the hospital, and then discharged from the hospital to the second nursing home, which is called Terra Vista. What you see is, what you're looking at is the records from Conway Lakes, the first nursing home, where the staff charted care that was given while the patient was in the hospital on the dates of the 10th and the 11th, and then when the resident was admitted to an entirely different facility, you'll see that they charted care given on the 13th. And then in the lower area where the nurses documented additional information following the dates along, you can see again they were charting while the resident was not even in their facility.
So they were indicating a report about a patient that was no longer under their care? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they were documenting.
How would something like that happen?
It's careless charting primarily. I think they are not paying attention when they're sitting down at the end of a day and they're just picking up charts and filling out charts without really focusing in on who they're charting on. So it's distraction.
You have different incidences with or accidents sometimes involving patients, and this is an example. What is this?
This was a man who went in to have an operation on his neck, on his disc. And on the first day after surgery, the physical therapy people got him out of bed, and it took a couple of people to get him up. He was a big man. And then in the afternoon, a small 5'1" aide came in and said, "I'll get you out of bed by myself." Mm-hmm. And he said, "It took two people this morning. Are you sure?" And she said, "I'm strong." So she got him up, and he immediately fell down to his knees, and he jarred his surgical site, damaging his neck, which ultimately resulted in him becoming paralyzed. The nurse who was taking care of him didn't document anything about this incident at all. You can see she just documented about his urine output, but said nothing in the medical record about the fall that had occurred. And the fall itself was not reported to the neurosurgeon.
We have, I must say, in our own office, 2 or 3 ongoing cases right now within a medical facility where a somewhat similar situation, a couple of times resulting in a fatality, subsequently a person falling that was under the care of some medical personnel. So, and then there was no notation in the medical report. So that type of incident is really strikes me.